Hi, I'm Varun. I'm Managing Director for Asia and Middle East with Information Security Media Group. I'm talking about policy change management in the current security landscape. It's my pleasure to be speaking with Baruch T, who is a director with Tufin. Hi, Baruch.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Baruch, policy change management. What does it mean? Can you just elaborate that for us a little bit?
Yes, in today's networks, there is such complexity from different vendors, from different types of devices, different things, different communications between different segments, and everything is very, very complex. And to understand what's going on within the traffic of the network, understand where things are going from where to where, that's a very big thing to manage. And that's a major problem that large organizations have. The more devices they have, the more complex it is. To manage everything is extremely complicated.
All right. So when we're talking about policy management, does this also encompass configuration management, change management, all of those things as well?
Yes. So policy management is actually what keeps the network secure. And if you do have a policy, that means that there is something that you're doing about trying to make yourself secure. But the fact that you have a firewall doesn't actually make you secure. You just have a firewall that follows the rules of how things are created. And what is necessary in such complex environments is a way to understand what the policies are, to have visibility on the communications between the different devices, what is allowed, where should the rules be inserted in the right places, and making sure that all the changes that are needed are done in the proper way. A big problem in networks today is that not only are they in the physical environment, but they're spreading out to the private cloud, public cloud, and that increases the problem so much more.
Right, and all of this needs to be dynamic on the fly.
Everything needs to be understood as to what's going on, what needs to happen. And many times we talk about policy. Policies are actually made up of rules and firewalls, switches, routers, load balancers, and other devices in the network. And to understand what's happening within that policy and is the policy compliant to either your internal compliance or regulations, you need to have the full visibility and understanding. And understanding is one thing, and then analyzing what is right and what is wrong in the policies, and then taking action to make sure that you are securing those particular policies.
When you talk about policy management now you mentioned visibility. I assume you're talking about visibility from a network traffic sense or a network policy sense?
It's network policy sense, meaning what is allowed to go through to where. And that is the essence of these things.
Okay, so now in such a scenario where the cybersecurity landscape has become so sophisticated, like you said, there's cloud, there's public, private, hybrid, there's even a lot of encrypted traffic going on that you don't know anything about. What do organizations or security leaders do to kind of have this dynamic policy change management in place?
So I think the first thing that needs to be done is reducing the attack surface. I mean, we're attacked from all directions, and trying to reduce the attack surface and making sure that the policies are as tight as possible is the best practice for sure. But then when change is introduced, because there are business needs that create opportunity to introduce change into the network, new servers need to be accessed, new applications need to be set up, and there is a problem where creating a change can create a very big difference in the dynamics of the network. Introducing breaches of compliance, introducing blockage of different services, and that has to be done properly. And understanding the policies, making sure that the changes are done properly is a major issue in many, many organizations, and that needs to be dealt with.
Right, so what is it exactly that organizations are getting wrong, and what are some best practices that you can share to address these things?
Okay, so the first thing is lots of things are done manually. To manage a policy manually is very complex. To understand the tens or maybe even hundreds of devices and making sure that the policies are intact is something which is really problematic. And add on to that, the changes that are introduced can create a lot of security breaches and a lot of problems. That's one thing. Another thing is, even though that there are these complexities, the security teams are trying to deal with it. and that slows down business processes. When a change is needed to introduce a new application or a new segmentation or whatever, and it needs to be done properly, the security people look at the compliances, look at the different elements, and it takes a long time for a change to get done. Here is where our recommendation is to introduce automation, where you have intelligence of understanding on one hand the policies and automating the process of creating the change so that business processes flow correctly, things are done right the first time, and then also you are making sure that you don't breach any compliance while doing so. What this does actually is creates a situation where the firewalls and the policies are actually business enablers for running business.
Right. And they change according to the circumstances in an
Yes.
automated fashion.
Yes.
Right. Thank you, Baruch, for that very timely insight.
Okay, thank you as well.
That's Baruch T, who is director of Tufin for ISMG. This is Baruch. Thanks for watching.